from your mobile phone, which means you're never too far from WNYC. Live stream your favorite shows anytime. Just go to your browser and type in wnyc.org.
On the next Brian Lehrer Show, with the crisis in funding professional journalism, the Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism at CUNY is now planning to make tuition free for all admitted students. We'll talk about news business and higher ed economics with the dean of the Newmark School, Gabriela Machkovsky, and Craig Newmark, founder of Craigslist, whose grant will make free tuition real. The Brian Lehrer Show, weekdays at 10 a.m. on WNYC.
Later on Morning Edition, President Biden had said there is a plan for retaliation for the drone strike that killed 3 Americans on a base in Jordan and for the widening of the war in Gaza as it continues. That's in about 15 minutes. 42 and cloudy in the city. We have a chance of rain by midday. In fact, we might see some more light rain in just a few minutes here. Cloudy, then mostly sunny today, a high of 44. It'll be windy. And then tonight, near the freezing mark or at the freezing mark in the city, 32. The wind will keep it cold tonight. Tomorrow, sunny and 42. Freezing and dry Saturday night, then Sunday, sunny and 44. Good-looking weekend with sunshine and cool temperatures. 42 and cloudy now. It's 6:52.
There are headquarters where the bosses work, and there are headquarters for legal and tax purposes. Sometimes those are in different places.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Progressive Insurance with Snapshot. Learn more about Snapshot at progressive.com or 1-800-PROGRESSIVE. Snapshot not available in California, North Carolina, or from all agents.
I'm David Brancaccio. First, Apple and Amazon are doing just fine. They reported their latest quarterly profits yesterday. As Marketplace's Nancy Marshall-Genzer reports, both companies are taking in more money than analysts were expecting.
Apple reported earnings from the first quarter of fiscal 2024. It says revenue for the quarter was up 2% over the same time last year. Apple CEO Tim Cook cited iPhone sales and what he called an all-time revenue record in services. Apple announced earnings just as it was launching its new Vision Pro augmented reality headset. Amazon reported earnings for the fourth quarter of last year. It says net sales were up 13% compared with the fourth quarter of 2022. Amazon says it had a record-breaking holiday shopping season, and it's introducing a new AI shopping assistant it's calling Rufus. Rufus can answer customers' questions and recommend products. I'm Nancy Marshall-Genzer for Marketplace.
Now that a Delaware business court has nixed Elon Musk's $56 billion compensation package, confirmed that's billion with a B, the Tesla CEO is saying he wants to pick up legal stakes and reincorporate the EV company in Texas. Tesla is currently incorporated in Delaware, as are about two-thirds of the Fortune 500. Marketplace's Stephanie Hughes looks into why that's the case and how other states are trying to win over some of these legal domiciles.
Delaware's reputation as being the place to incorporate goes back more than a century. That means the state has a lot of experience with corporate law. It also has that specialized business court, known as the Court of Chancery, with judges who know that law inside and out.
There is very little that they haven't seen.
Charles Elson is the founder of the Weinberg Center for Corporate Governance at the University of Delaware. The state's experience with business is a business itself. Corporate taxes and fees brought Delaware about $2 billion in revenue in 2022. Tulane law professor Ann Lipton says other states would like to see some of that.
Texas has sort of loudly announced that it wants to challenge Delaware. I think Nevada has to some extent.
Lipton says those states have to be attractive to a company's leadership, but also to its investors.
The theory is that investors will not buy shares of your company if they are uncomfortable with the corporate law you have selected.
Lipton says other states have tried to challenge Delaware before, but they didn't have the same track record. I'm Stephanie Hughes for Marketplace.
A closely watched index of banks, the KBW Regional Banking Index, has fallen sharply this week. This after a regional lender, New York Community Bancorp, posted a surprise loss this week after the bank made big arrangements for losses in its commercial real estate portfolio. The worry spread to other banks, including bigger ones like Wells Fargo, with its stock down 2.2% yesterday. Bank of America fell 1.4%. We'll see if this stabilizes today. S&P futures are up 0.6%. NASDAQ futures are up sharply, 1% now. The big hiring and unemployment reports are due later this morning. Now to Germany, where public transit has come to a near standstill. Local buses, trolleys, and subway trains have been canceled with a 24-hour strike by transport workers. They want better pay and working conditions.
Last week, German intercity trains stood still for 5 days as drivers went on strike. Yesterday, more than 1,000 flights were cancelled after industrial action at German airports. It's all a reflection of how much Germans are feeling the squeeze. High energy costs have meant rising prices in the shops. Last year, inflation was almost 6%, and the year before, almost 7%, with food prices rising around 13% per year. At the same time, low unemployment and a lack of workers means that people feel in a strong enough position to demand better pay.
That's the BBC's Damien McGuinness in Berlin.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Bitwarden. The Bitwarden Password Manager stores unlimited logins, secure notes, credit cards, and more with access on any device. More at bitwarden.com.
The Biden administration has a 15-year plan to come up with ways to measure the contributions of nature, the natural world, to the economy. A bird sanctuary in a wetland counts as nothing at the moment. Putting a road through it would be positive for GDP as we measure these things. A canopy of trees that cools an urban area counts for nothing. A strip mall in its place gets recorded as an asset. At the end of this long process, the Biden administration wants researchers and policymakers to have data and statistics to take those natural services into account. Marketplace's Savannah Marr has more.
Our traditional measures of economic activity are great at capturing market transactions, says Richard Reddy, an environmental economist with Montana State University. For example,
if I get in my car and drive down to Utah and go mountain biking,
then parts of that trip will be reflected in economic data.
If I spend some money on lodging, that gets counted
In quarterly GDP and consumer spending data and all kinds of other metrics you hear about on this show.
If I go to a restaurant, that gets counted. But the enjoyment I get from being out on the desert,
and the fact that that spending was because of the beautiful desert,
doesn't get counted as part of GDP.
But that doesn't mean it's not there, and it doesn't mean that it doesn't matter.
Sylvia Secchi is a professor of sustainability sciences at the University of Iowa. Aside from generating economic activity, she says healthy ecosystems can also do important work, like a forest that stores carbon or a wetland that purifies water.
By omitting these values from the economy, we are giving a false sense of growth and progress.
In other words, strong GDP growth doesn't necessarily account for the environmental costs of that growth.
You can't manage what you don't measure.
Nat Cohan heads up the Center for Climate and Energy Solutions. He says the Biden administration's plan could help federal agencies make better decisions about regulating industry and protecting public lands.
We can put an economic value on the importance of clean drinking water, both in terms of how people value that, what they would be willing to pay,
but also in terms of the avoided costs, things you don't have to do if you just keep the water clean in the first place.
Installing municipal clean water systems, right, that have to filter it.
And Cohan says if we don't put a dollar value on ecosystem services, then their effective worth is zero. I'm Savannah Marr for Marketplace.
Different kind of numbers. I'm David Brancaccio, Marketplace Morning Report. From APM, American Public Media.